So it's been stated a few times now that although Hogwarts Legacy is not set in a time period of something that we've had from the Wizarding World before, that the developers on making Hogwarts Legacy are going to be staying true to the lore of the Wizarding World. However, there is a certain item out there which suggests they may, despite the fact we don't even know very much about this game, may already have broken with the lore in a relatively significant way. In this video, I am going to be talking about exactly what that item is and whether I believe it means that the lore has already been broken. If Hogwarts Legacy is a game that you are looking forward to, then make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on updates on this channel. Now, just before we launch into exactly what this item is that I'm referring to, I want to define what I refer to as lore of the Wizarding World. And the reason I say that is because actually if you look online, there's quite, in certain places, quite lengthy discussion talking about what lore means and quite a lot of disagreement around it as well. So to me, and this is my definition for the Wizarding World, if I try to do too much of a general definition, I'm sure it will contradict what I then go on to say. So just talking about the Wizarding World, to me, what I think of as lore is if you go to the original source material. So for example, I would say that lore is the Harry Potter books, not the Harry Potter films. I would say the Harry Potter films are a reinterpretation of the books. So where they do things differently, that is just the way they have them. It's not lore, lore is books. I say for Fantastic Beasts, it has to be the films because there isn't anything below it. And I guess you could probably also bring in certain games. Maybe that's a bit of a tenuous one, but you could bring in certain games. So maybe you'd say after Hogwarts Legacy has done its thing, maybe that's lore as well, in the same way that you could talk about Magic Awakened. But I haven't quite decided on that one yet. But anyway, in terms of what's lore and what's important for this video, it's what's in the Harry Potter books. Okay, so let's talk about what the item is then. So we have had screenshots, we've had trailers. Now in the trailer, we see the character that you're playing, or that you will be playing, fights an acromantula, or very much looks like an acromantula, which is interesting because we know from the Harry Potter books that there shouldn't be acromantulas at Hogwarts in the time this game is set. We know this game is set in the late 1800s. We know from the books that the acromantulas that were at Hogwarts at the time of when Harry Potter was there were all related to Aragog and all his descendants, which was obviously released by Hagrid into the Hogwarts grounds. Now you could argue that perhaps that part of the trailer was not set in Hogwarts, which is potentially true. We don't exactly know where this game is set. However, this is where the second thing comes in, and that is if you look at the screenshot that has been released for this game, which I am showing on screen at the moment, in the bottom right-hand corner, there is actually an acromantula. It's a bit hard to see, but there is an acromantula standing next to a cave, which, it's very close to Hogwarts. That feels, if you were going to argue that, it's just outside Hogwarts, that wasn't the ones that Hagrid was referring to and that we know from the books, then that's too tenuous to be the case. So what are my thoughts on this then? So my thoughts on it are, on the onset, that does look like they may have got their lore a bit wrong because they have acromantulas and acromantulas shouldn't be there. They come later. However, I think most likely the developers think that acromantulas are very exciting foes to face, or maybe they're going to be our friends, who knows. They probably think that, they feel very Wizarding World as well. They play a big part in the Harry Potter franchise. And I think it's not that much of a stretch for an imagination to actually come up with a reason why it makes sense that they were there. So, for example, perhaps it's going to be that they are in fact going to be our enemies, and maybe it's a big part of the game, or a portion of the game at least, where you have to fight them. And maybe the mission is going to be you have to drive the acromantulas out of Hogwarts, and maybe they do something like that. You could have other reasons as well. Perhaps they migrate away for some other reason. Again, they don't have to be your enemies. They may be passing through. Maybe at that stage they pass through. I mean, you can kind of come up with anything. The people behind this game are obviously creative people. I imagine they could come up with a pretty watertight reason. I would say if they don't come up with a watertight reason and they just pretend that they are there, I don't think that's as good. I like to think, though, that they would actually come up with a reason. You say, okay, great, that doesn't break with the law. Let me know your thoughts as to whether you think they should have included acromantulas and whether it breaks the law. Also, let me know if you disagree with my definition of what law is. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this. I'll see you in the next video.